Jessica turned her face, only to see Okafor standing right in front of them inside her sitting room. She was surprised. She was so engrossed in her kissing escapade that she didn't know when he had walked in on them. Okafor gave her a stern look without saying a word as he stormed out of the living room. As Okafor drove home, his heart was racing fast as a lot of thoughts beclouded his mind. He could feel his heart wrenching into a million pieces. This experience wasn't new to him. He had experienced a lot of heartbreak with women in the time past, but yet it felt like a whole new experience for him, as the old wound which he had thought had healed were reopened once again. Okafor felt like a fool for always putting his best foot into any relationship, yet always getting hurt. Emotions of anger and betrayal welled up inside of him. He made the decision that he was not going to make a fool of himself the second time by running after a cheat like he did with his ex-girlfriend Cleopatra. For the first time, he felt he deserved better, and so he decided he would forget all about Jessica and move on with his life. Okafor shoved all the welled up emotions he felt inside of him as he did everything he could to forget about Jessica. One evening, Okafor received a call from his friend Emmanuel that he was back to Lagos and that he had great news that he would love to share with him when they hang out. Okafor could not wait to hear the good news Emmanuel had to share with him. So, the next day, Okafor and Emmanuel decided to hang out in one of their favorite bars where they could talk over some drinks while they watched football. They exchanged pleasantries as they haven't seen each other for months. "My man, I have really missed you," Okafor said to Emmanuel as he shook his hands. They sat down as the bar attendant brought some wine for them. "How are you? How was Enugu? How is everything?" Okafor asked all at once. "I have never felt better. Enugu was fantastic. The cool city treated me like their own. All the business transactions I went there for were all successful," Emmanuel responded. Okafor was happy with the positive feedback Emmanuel was giving about his trip and thought probably that was the good news he wanted to share with him. Emmanuel looked at Okafor as though he had read his mind. "Well, that aside, I still have the good news I want to share with you," he said, blushing. "Oya guy, come on now. Share your news with me, Joe. Don't keep me in suspense," Okafor said, already impatient. "I propose to Amaka. We are getting married," Emmanuel exclaimed happily. Okafor's eyes brightened on hearing Emmanuel break the news of his engagement to him. He congratulated him and wished him well in the new journey he was about to embark on. "Amaka is such a sweet soul. She would make a really good wife," Okafor commended Emmanuel's fiancé. "My guy, na so like this now, you won't leave us alone for inside this bachelorhood thing. There is God though," he said jokingly. Emmanuel told Okafor that he shouldn't worry, that in no time his own soulmate would show up. He also expressed his concern about the way and manner Okafor went about in search for a girlfriend. You are so concerned with the physical appearance of the woman you want as your girlfriend rather than their character and personality. I know, yes, it's a good thing to have a woman of class and elegance by your side, but don't you think that with the way and manner you are going about this, you would continue to get yourself hurt? Okafor all of a sudden became defensive. It was as though he had touched a delicate part of his life. He told Emmanuel that every man knows their spec and what they find attractive in a woman. So he shouldn't even judge him or bring up such conversations. Emmanuel saw the switch in the mood and countenance of his friend and quickly changed the topic to something that would lighten the already tensed atmosphere as he talked about the football match that was showing on the TV screen in the bar. He teased Okafor's football club and called them losers, saying it was as if they had sworn an oath to always bring shame and depression to their fans, as the club was fond of losing more matches than ever winning in any season. Okafor was not having it as he lashed back at Emmanuel's club, saying they were not any better with their near success syndrome of victory every season. They both laughed as they continued watching the match. After long hours of chatting and drinking in the bar, they realized that the time was fast spent and it was running late into the night. Okafor shook hands with Emmanuel as they exited the bar and said their goodbyes. Okafor drove back home in the murky night. It had rained earlier that evening and it was still drizzling. He fixed his eyes on the windscreen as he tried to concentrate. The words of Emmanuel kept ringing in his ears like a bell. As he tried to push away the thought from his mind, it became dominant in his heart. Okafor tried to concentrate but could not, so he parked by the corner of the road as he reminisced on what Emmanuel, his friend, had said to him that evening. Am I actually running after shadows? Do I do a proper check or get to know these ladies before asking them out? All those questions kept bugging his heart, although he already knew the answers to the questions. Okafor got hold of himself. He took a deep breath for a moment and told himself that Emmanuel was just blowing things out of proportions and he shouldn't allow his words get to his head or get into the way of what he really wanted. One thing Okafor never told any of his friends who questioned him on the choices of the guests he went out with was the reasons and motives that had prompted his choices. Anytime such topic was raised, he just becomes defensive or tries to change the topic. Okafor turned on the ignition of his car as he drove home. In the days following, Chidera went to see Okafor in his showroom. She was sent by her boss to that neighborhood to deliver a package for one of their clients after the close of business that day. When she was done with the delivery, she decided to stroll down to his office to pay him a surprise visit. Okafor was happy seeing Chidera again. They exchanged pleasantries as he offered her a seat. "Chichi, so good to see you around. How is everything?" he inquired. "My dear, I am fine. Work has been hectic lately, hence the reason you haven't seen me for a while now," Chidera responded. "I totally understand. I am also guilty. I should have also made an effort to visit you too." Okafor admitted his shortcomings. Chidera and Okafor talked for hours as they talked and journeyed through the world of business, career, finance, trendy gossip, and even football. One thing Okafor valued about Chidera was how she was able to hold conversations. He liked the fact that she was very versatile, jovial, and funny. Though Okafor only had a secondary school certificate, he had trained himself over the years to know about the things going on in the society. He always made sure to have a little idea here and there of happiness around him in order to be able to communicate to his Gen Z girlfriends, but his updates always looked outdated to them as their train of thought never aligned with his. He always did his best to try to fit in, but his fittings was that of a square peg in a round hole. As they continued to chat on, Chidera inquired from Okafor how things were going between her and Jessica. Okafor looked at her and hesitantly told her that they were no longer together. He explained that she caught her cheating on him. He looked at Chidera, trying to figure out if he would see the "I told you it wasn't going to work" look on her face. She rather kept a straight face as she felt sorry for him. "It's okay, I am fine now," Okafor said, trying to lighten the environment. It was already approaching Okafor's closing hour for the day, and so he wanted to grab some food at a restaurant close to his office, which he was going to use as his dinner. So he told Chidera to come with him so that they could get something to eat. Chidera excitedly followed him as they walked out of his showroom together. When they got to the restaurant, they chatted some more while they ate. As they chatted on, Okafor told Chidera that he has vowed not to go back to Jessica and had since moved on with his life. He also told Chidera that Emmanuel, his friend, which Chidera was also familiar with, had proposed to his girlfriend. Chidera was excited and told him that he was going to call him to congratulate him. Chidera commended the decision he had made of not going back to Jessica after all he had put him through, and finally she burst into a prolonged laughter as she reminisced on the conversation they had the day he broke the news to her that he had found the one. Okafor did not find her laughter funny as he begged her to stop. Chidera managed a straight face for some seconds and bursted into another round of laughter. "Nah, this girl, it's like they sent you today to come and torment me," Okafor said playfully. When they had finished their food, Okafor told Chidera to get into his car so as to drop her off like a gentleman that he was. Gentleman indeed, Chidera said, laughing. Okafor pulled his car in front of Chidera's house. As Chidera was about to leave, he told her that he had really enjoyed her company that day and that he doesn't know why the girls he had always met never went with his flow. He told her that assuming his elder brother wasn't married, he would have introduced her to him. Chichi, my brother would have fallen yakata for you if he wasn't married. You are his spec and his kind of woman, he said, smiling. And you? What is your spec? Chidera asked him, staring deep into his eyes to get a confirmation from him what she already knew, her gaze piercing through him. Okafor was confused for some seconds as he watched Chidera stare at him intensely. He finally cleared his throat and said, "Well, Chichi, let's leave this spec talk for another day." Chidera smiled as she hopped out of his car. Chidera walked into the room to see her younger sister Ogechi staring at her with a knowing look on her face. "What? Why are you staring at me like that?" Chidera questioned. "Well, my dear sister, I have been watching the two of you together while in the car, and I must say that the both of you look good together," Ogechi said, blushing. "You wish," Chidera blurted out. "But why, sister? I know you like him. Why not tell him the way you feel about him instead of just bottling it up inside?" Chidera replied her sister that she could not bring herself to telling him how she felt about him because as a lady, it is the man that is supposed to express their feelings to her and not the other way around. Come, sister, things has changed though. We are now in the 21st century. Life is not one size fits all anymore. Ogechi encouraged her sister to talk to Okafor about how she felt. I don't think it's a good idea. Have you seen the women he's been with? They are as hot as the sun. And look at him. If I tell him and he doesn't feel the same way, which I am 100% sure of that he won't, then what happens to our friendship that we have built over the years? I don't want things to become weird and awkward between the two of us, Chidera concluded. Some days later, Okafor was in his house getting ready for work and was in his sitting room about to leave when he heard a knock on his door. "Who is that?" he said, even though he wasn't expecting anyone. He didn't receive any reply, and so he went to the door to check. As he opened the door, he saw Jessica standing by the doorway. Okafor's countenance darkened as he tried to lock his door. Jessica fell on her knees and started to beg Okafor not to shut the door on her and that she knew she deserved it. "But please, just hear me out," she said with a mixture of tears in her voice. "What do you have to say? I don't want to have anything to do with you," Okafor yelled. Jessica did not let Okafor go as he begged him, holding his leg, to please hear her out. After much pleading, Okafor's anger and pent-up emotion was released as he expressed his disappointment. "You are such a wicked soul. I did everything for you to make you happy. But what did you do in return? You cheated on me." "Why, Jessica?" he asked, genuinely concerned to know his offense. "I'm so sorry," Jessica replied under her breath, still sobbing. She explained to Okafor that the guy he had seen her with that day was his ex who had been on her case and wanted them to get back together. But she refused vehemently to see him. But on the day he walked in on us, he bashed into my house, begging me to take him back. But I refused and told him that I was in a relationship with someone else, but he wasn't having it. So he pulled himself close to me and started to kiss me before you walked in on us, she said. "I don't believe you. I saw the passion in your eyes when you kissed him, the type I have never seen when I am with you." Jessica swore with her life that she was telling the truth as she continued to beg for his forgiveness. Okafor became vulnerable to her as he believed all her stories and felt better, considering the fact that none of his exes had ever begged him before. Even though they were wrong, he was always doing the begging. "Why didn't you tell me about him?" he asked her, staring straight into her eyes. "I didn't want to bother you," she replied. Okafor forgave Jessica and told her to always keep an open communication with him, as that would help their relationship grow. Jessica came to Okafor's office some days later to visit him. Okafor was delighted. Ever since they made up, Jessica has changed for the better, as her cold attitude towards him had changed and she became more invested in the relationship. Okafor was grateful for her change of attitude. "Hey baby," Jessica said as he entered Okafor's office. "My awesome pepperempe," Okafor shouted as he checked out Jessica, who was already flaunting herself for him to admire. Meanwhile, Chidera had been thinking of what her sister had told her concerning revealing her feelings to Okafor, and after much thought, she decided to give it a shot and made the decision to go see him after work that day. So after work that day, she went straight to Okafor's showroom to see him. Though she was tensed, she tried to calm herself down as she took several deep breaths before opening the door of his office. But to her greatest surprise, she saw a lady touching and kissing Okafor flirtatiously. When Okafor noticed Chidera's presence in his office, he adjusted himself a bit as he smiled at Chidera. "Chidera, please meet my girlfriend Jessica. And babe, meet my very good friend Chidera." Chidera's heart sunk with disappointment. She waved and muttered a hi to Jessica as she managed to let out a smile. Thank you for watching this story so far. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel to help us grow and to enjoy the continuation of this story and more interesting African stories. Also, give this video a thumbs up and share with us in the comment section what you love about this story so far. Till I bring part 3 your way, for now, it's bye.